Welcome back to another episode of Steaming Pile with Lauren and Tucker. I am Lauren.
And I'm Tucker.
And Tucker, pray tell, have you ever heard of Germa, the streamer?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know nothing about him. And yet my YouTube home feed is constantly filled with clips about him. And what I have determined just based on the thumbnails is he's a streamer. That much seems pretty obvious. The best description I'd seen for him for a while was like a K-pop stan, but for white kids who take Adderall. And that colored a lot of my perception as well. And I watched, just on a whim, I watched just a 15-minute clip compilation to try and discern as much as I could from as little content as I could find. I did deduce his name was Jeremy before I heard it was Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he's Australian or not. And I don't know what kind of content he makes. Because it was like a real life Sims situation where he was thrown out a window. An iteration of like an audition process where they deep faked his face onto another body.
Mm-hmm.
He slapped himself at one point and he seemed shocked that he could either make contact or that it would hurt that much. And
yeah.
I like that he's kind of a cryptid in that regard. I think more content creators should just exist in that liminal space where I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But it compels me.
Yeah. That's certainly true. To have a little bit of mystery is to engage your audience without actively engaging them.
Yeah. Cause I don't know if he streams with other people. The only other streamer I've seen present with him, I think, was Ludwig.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not much to go on because Ludwig is everywhere. So I don't know. Do you have any internet cryptids that their existence baffles you?
Yeah, I've seen this guy pop up in my recommendeds every once in a while. I can't really get a fix on him either. I don't know why he pops up in my recommendeds to begin with.
Yeah.
I guess someone similar in that regard that is kind of mysterious, definitely intentionally mysterious, is Jay Schlatt. Super.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who is he?
I don't know. I think he's like 7 feet tall.
Could be.
Because he's as tall as Ted Nivison, and Ted Nivison is tall.
Mm-hmm.
Stuck his dick in a jar of peanut butter because they weren't sure if they were going to put it in the ice cream or not.
Sure. As one does.
Yeah, reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, I've bought this peanut butter, and now we're not going to use it. And so now I just have this spare jar of peanut butter. What do I do with it? What would you do with it, Lauren?
Well, speaking as a non-dick holder, that already eliminates about 90% of the options.
Well, okay, but you do recognize at least that it's a very compelling option.
The I almost understand virginity arguments. The unsullied top of a jar of peanut butter, like before the first scoop is taken out. Like, you know, it doesn't feel the same after someone's taken a scoop out of that jar.
The unsullied.
The smooth top of a jar of peanut butter will make you believe in the hymen.
I guess so. Sure. I loathe peanut butter's very existence, so I can't key into it. But do you know when you make chocolate pudding, the real chocolate pudding, that's like, it still comes in the box, but it's not the instant set. It's like you have to boil it or something like that, and it gets this film over the top. It's never the same. As soon as you break down through it,
yeah,
it's always creamy underneath. How does it stay creamy? Why does the top oxidize? How does that happen?
I don't know. I didn't major in chemistry.
Why is this an unanswered problem? But yeah, and you know, have I put my dick in a bowl of chocolate pudding?
I hope after it cooled.
That's a good question. Well, I mean, yeah, think about the logistics of it. Of course, you have to wait for it to cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could use the instant serve, but it doesn't hold up as well. It doesn't have the same rigidity. You haven't thought of the rigidity, have you? No, you have to have a rigid, maybe even less liquid in it, right? It needs to be. It almost has to be like ballistics gel. Anyway,
you can't spell ballistics gel without balls.
It's true, you can't. That's true. Anyway,
it's interesting because the same impulse that's like, ooh, I wanna. Is that why bubble wrap is so enticing? Because like creme brulee, you want that first crack, and the rest of it is like okay. But bubble wrap, like that's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Bubble wrap, you're cracking creme brulee a gross number of times.
Oh yeah. That would be very interesting. Same, I guess you can extend the argument to, you always want the corner piece of the brownie.
Yes.
So once you eat the corner piece, is the centerpiece not as good?
Depends. I've had some really good center brownie pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if they're just the slightest bit underdone.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I don't care about salmonella at this point.
Nope. All or nothing.
Ooh. I only believe in salmonella when it comes to raw chicken.
Yeah. That's because
like,
raw chicken's gross.
Yeah. It's like what we were talking about last time. That raw chicken is just so unappealing, fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
But like, cookie dough, brownie batter.
Sure.
Good stuff.
Good.
I'll risk the raw eggs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When like, the chicken grows up, that's when the salmonella becomes a problem, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Because, like, is it the way that it's stored, too? Because I know that, like, some people will just drink raw egg.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Chrono style. And I feel like you shouldn't get salmonella if you're just eating raw eggs.
That's a good question. I don't know if eggs are supposed to be sterile or not. Is that, I mean, is that not the point of the egg? I have no idea. I'm probably talking out my ass here. But like, are eggs supposed to be sterile? Maybe not. Are eggs sterile?
Wait, sterile in the sense that there is not a living thing inside it?
What's on eggs? How does salmonella get inside eggs? Yeah, tell me. I want to know.
Yeah, because, like, I know in some countries, they come to America and it freaks them out that the eggs are stored cold. Like, I think in the UK, they can store them at, like, room temperature or something.
Oh, no, I'm just stupid. Eggs are porous. The eggshell is semi-permeable.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, bacteria can get into that. Yeah, the thing has to breathe. It has to exchange oxygen with the environment. Yeah, okay.
That is a nightmare I have sometimes. That, like, the egg's a little too developed.
Oh, sure.
Because, like, that brings the circle of life too close to my orbit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Things should be dead when you buy them from the grocery store.
Yeah. Because every once in a while, I will think about, like, okay, if I had to do it myself, which ones am I comfortable doing that with? And, like, if I cared about fish enough, that would be pretty easy because I feel no connection to fish.
Sure.
And sometimes chickens.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put a chicken indoors, that throws me off. I'm not sure I can do it anymore. But I did find out that in certain countries, there's a whole thing about showing how fresh the fish is or how fresh the seafood is, that you are eating it while it's alive and it is watching you eat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to think if I've ever eaten something while it was still alive, and I don't know that I have. Do vegetables count?
I feel like after they're harvested, they don't. Like, once you separate it from its vine or bush or whatever, not alive anymore.
but some of them can grow into things. You take a potato and you plant it.
Yeah.
Let's
They
say
do
vegetables. Let's stick to the animal phylum or animal kingdom. It's a kingdom.
Yeah.
Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. I'm pretty sure domain, eukaryote.
Ooh.
Kingdom, animal, phylum. That's when it gets chordate, probably. Well, actually, that's not true. We can talk about lobsters. I don't think I've ever eaten anything while it was still alive. I don't know. I don't know that I'd want to.
No.
Yeah.
Like, if something has to die for me to consume it, I would like it to be dispatched quickly and
of
as
course
humanely as possible.
Yeah.
I'm sad that, like, that's the gold standard.
Well, sure.
And is also the bare minimum.
Yeah. And we've talked about the solution is lab-grown meats, pitter-patter. But
yes.
It's easier with some animals than it is with others.
Oh, yeah.
It's also possible to eat things while they're alive. You can't just take a bite out of a cow, right? I don't think that's a thing you can do. Right?
Not well.
No. It would have to be raw. It's a dumb joke, I'm sorry.
Like, certain parts of the cow, I feel like you could, like someone had to have, like, chewed on an udder.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. I mean, I've seen an episode of Dirty Jobs where they castrate lambs by mouth.
I feel like there are tools that can do that better than a mouth.
I don't know. Tools can't get the... I don't know. I guess you got to feel for them? I don't know. But, yeah. No, that was the thing. You don't eat them. You spit them out. But it's a thing. So I wonder where the line is. Where it's... You can just eat it. Right? You can just straight up eat it while it's still alive. I don't think you can do it to things that walk.
No. Because, like, I'm pretty sure the only time I've ever seen it, like, portrayed, it's always been worms.
Okay.
Because worms exist on that weird threshold where, sure, they're alive, but no one really cares to see them as such.
Right.
And, like, what kid hasn't tried to at least put it in their mouth?
Right. But then that argument falls apart with fish and, aquatic things. I think, worms of the ocean, clams, mollusks, scallops, things that don't have eyes, right? Things that don't have a face, I think I think that might be the line. Does it have a face? As soon as you put googly eyes on a clam, it's game over, right? So...
Yeah. Because, who was it? There was someone whose, like, whole argument of vegetarianism was they didn't eat a thing with a face.
One of my dad's friends is like that.
Okay, yeah.
I mean that might be the line. And that might have some interesting reasoning in psychology that we're several PhDs away from explaining, but that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like
we already several PhDs away. We do still have the first P.
That's true.
Podcast.
That's all it takes sometimes.
Yeah.
But so if you think about things that you eat that don't have faces, oysters, they're really just snot-filled rocks.
Yeah.
So
it's like a tongue.
Yeah. But by the time you get to other meat, they don't have faces anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You've removed their face.
You think about the fact that they at one point had a face.
Mm-hmm. I never saw it. They were never in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the necessary separation I think that people have to have and are comfortable with. Right?
Yes.
If you think about it too much. Think about it a lot. Like every day you start to have nightmares. You give yourself stress because of it. Then of course, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting because I don't know if I could think about it enough to not eat meat. I don't know what point I would have to get to in order to stop eating meat. The only actual guilt I feel eating meat is the environmental impact thereof. and it's very interesting to see. And it's very interesting to see, the reasons people go vegetarian, the reasons people go vegan. Yeah, no, it's just interesting to think about from a psychological standpoint.
Do you think furries have a higher tendency of being vegetarian, or do you think it's a pretty normal reflection of just a general population?
Oh, I think furries eat enough animal.
Vegetarian in the streets, omnivore in the sheets.
You got it. Oh, yeah. There aren't a whole lot of furries that go the farm animal route, though.
True. The most I have seen have been wolves and or dog type animals.
Yep. You get a cat in there occasionally. But you don't really see farm animals. You don't see someone as a cow. Maybe a bull. That might be more. No chickens though. I haven't seen a chicken. I think that's
which is fascinating.
What's that?
That there haven't been, like, at least in the pop culture lexicon, an idea of furries. And it may just be because they have feathers instead or whatever. But, like, there have been enough, I think, sexually available roosters in cartoons that should have influenced, like, a handful of people.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. They sell chicken breasts. Is that not enough? Do you want more?
Because, like, for all of the sexual awakenings Disney's Robin Hood gave people, like, Alan Adale was not responsible for any of it. Foghorn, like, I shudder to think that there's not, like, at least a couple of twinks who aren't turned on a little by Foghorn Leghorn, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that stands to reason. Makes sense to me. I need 4,000 chicken vaginas, please.
What they're called? That's cloacas. Is that what they're called?
Oh yeah.
Or is that just for laying eggs?
It's one hole for everything. I don't know how chickens mate.
Efficient.
Not really. That's how you get salmonella in your eggs.
No.
Yeah.
That's a design flaw. All right. Redesigning chickens 2023.
There you go. We need more holes in our chickens. It's really the only way.
Perforated.
Why draw the line at genetically modifying our chickens to be bigger? Let's make them better.
I want to teach chickens how to wield a knife, not for any practical reasons, just to see if they can.
There you go. That would be cool. Do you... Okay, this is a very, very... Okay, this is an interesting thought I had the other day. Because sometimes you think about meat, and it's like, where do people's moral conundrums lie? So, just as a thought experiment, and I think we have the technology to pull this off. It'd probably be hard to make it reproducible, pun intended. But if we could breed a cow that did not have a brain, only the bits that are required for it to stand and breathe, would people still have would people still be able to take issue with the animal cruelty angle? If you could prove that the animal was not sentient, it is literally just a machine that grows meat at that point. There's no possibility of a conscience because it only has its hindbrain left. You take an X-ray, it's full of cerebral fluid. That's a hard word to say. Do you think at that point that would be okay? And there have been science fiction films, I feel like I remember seeing one on the Sci-Fi Channel, where they grow human clones without brains for organs. This is something that we can actually do, though. I'm pretty sure that once an embryo has specialized cells, you can just scoop out the ones that would be, cognizant brain.
Yeah.
And you would end up with a cow, with a very just nothing. lights are on but nobody's home, sort of thing,
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a thought experiment, would that make meat okay from an animal cruelty angle? Because at that point, it's not the part of the animal that you can be cruel to.
That is a good point. That you've removed its like emotional centers, I guess. And
Yes.
before it was formed, I think that's the key.
Yeah. And
I
you can
think
even
you would-
code it in the DNA if you wanted to, so that it never had
Yeah.
those cells. It never specialized.
Yeah. I think you would almost have to call it something else. Because I think if you say this is a brainless cow, people are still going to skip right to the cow part.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to think you lobotomized the cow after it was alive.
Right? Yeah, you can't do that. That's the same thing again. I'd argue possibly worse. So,
Oh, yeah. Lobotomies are terrible.
yeah. Well, if it's such a complete lobotomy that it literally just is a meat machine at that point, does it
Yeah.
matter? That's a whole other topic. But if it never had that part of the brain, if you can encode it in the DNA so that it never made these parts, is that meat
yeah.
acceptable?
I think people would be better with that. I mean, at that point, it's almost like a coconut, I guess.
It's almost like a coconut. That's the vegetable, the fruit you choose.
Yeah, it's a mammal.
All right.
Has hair, produces milk, gives birth to live young. The miracle of the coconut.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Coconuts are mammals. You're right. Oh, shit. You learned something new today, everyone. Okay. Yeah. No, it's something to think about. Because, I'm pretty sure we could do it if we really wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Lab-grown meat's far cooler.
It is, and I think it removes even, like, the remaining hesitation that brainless cow would provide.
Yeah. Yeah, because how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know even without doing all of this? You can't. You can ask a cow a question, and that's the end of the conversation. So, but I wonder, and here's another question, because as science progresses, oh, that's interesting. We talk about synthetic meat on this podcast all the time, so I don't remember the questions I brought up. So if I repeat myself, feel free to stop me. Say we got really good at growing meat in a lab, like incredibly good, just amazing. That would probably disrupt the meat market in the same way that artificial gemstones are disrupting that market, to the point where I have a diamond in this hand and a diamond in this hand. One of them synthetic. You cannot tell the difference, even under a microscope. One of them was made in the lab for 1/100th of the cost.
Yes.
I have a filet mignon steak in this hand and a filet mignon steak in this hand. You can put it under a microscope. You can analyze the fibers, the fat content, the marbling, and you cannot tell the difference. That would be insane. Filet mignon prices would drop incredibly.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if a commodity like gold plummeted like that. Gold, alchemy is real. Gold can be produced. Everything would crash because economies are based on that. If that happened to meat, expensive cuts of meat, would only the restaurant sector be affected by that?
No, because you would have like sections of the supermarket, they would probably suffer. And in the same way that like synthetic gemstones hurt, companies like De Beers, synthetic meat that realistic would hurt companies like Purdue, which is honestly not the worst thing. Purdue's a very sketchy chicken company.
Sure. Okay.
What would be interesting though is I've seen people sponsored by pork, like just U.S. pork.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's just because the United States government has subsidized that industry to the point where it's basically nationalized. But that would be the thing I'm curious about.
That is interesting. Could pork... the thing with pork is that there are better cuts of the pig and there are worse cuts of the pig, but pork, overall, there's not really a bad cut of pig, is there?
No. Certainly not with the way you can cook it.
Yeah.
Like
there's some really, really bad cuts of beef that you have to stew.
mm-hmm.
I don't think that's true of pork. That's certainly not true of chicken.
Yeah.
What's the difference? It's certainly darker. Certainly all dark meat. And pork is just built different, I guess. I don't know. Huh.
Because a thing that I would also be very interested in is if synthetic meat got to that point and you could reproduce things like Wagyu, where there's like the lore that goes into how your Kobe Wagyu reaches you,
Mm-hmm.
how the experience of that would change, if at all.
Oh, that's a very good point. Because food is more than just taste.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I guess you would have to come up with other ways to make the food special.
Which I think is where we get subreddits like we want plates.
We want plates. What is that one about?
That's where lots of like bougie high-end places, rather than serve food normally on a plate, they serve it on driftwood, the heads of shovels, copies of The Bodyguard on VHS, iPads that have pictures of plates right into your hands.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea this existed.
It's a great subreddit.
How have I never been to a place? In a restaurant in Canada last night, I was served pudding on, and I wish I was joking. An ancient VHS copy of The Bodyguard.
Yeah. It's a classic.
This is very interesting. This all looks like parody.
I know. And that's what I'm almost excited for, is just stuff to get weird and stuff to get ironic.
There was a restaurant review several months ago. I want to say October of I have to find this. I have to read this. It's exactly the kind of pretentious snobbery that you would expect a restaurant who serves things on VHS copies of Bodyguard.
Was that the one where they like put the chocolate right in your hands? They just like squirted it all over and encouraged you to wash it into your hands.
No, but it's a place that it would do that. Oh, come on. Here it is. No, this is the article about the article. No. Where is it? Here it is. This is This is a place in Lecce? Yes. It's called Bros. We eat the worst Michelin-starred restaurant ever. This was posted December 8th, 2021.
Oh, amazing.
There is something to be said about a truly disastrous meal. A meal forever indelible in your memory because it's so uniquely bad. It can only be deemed an achievement. The sort of meal where everyone involved was definitely trying to do something, it's just not entirely clear what. I'm not talking about a meal that's poorly cooked or a server who might be planning your murder. That sort of thing's in the fat lump of the bell curve of bad. Instead, I'm talking about the long tail stuff. The sort of meals that make you feel as though the fabric of reality is unraveling. Oh, no. This article is written very well. The ones that cause you to reassess the fundamentals of capitalism and whether or not you're living in a simulation in which someone failed to properly program this particular restaurant. The ones where you just know someone's going to lift a metal dome off a tray and reveal a sickle blue or red pill. I'm talking about those meals.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, the only way to regard that sort of experience without going mad, is as some sort of community improv theater. You sit in the audience shouting suggestions like a restaurant and eating something that resembles food and the exchange of money for goods and services. And in this instance, the goods are a goddamn meal. All of those suggestions go completely ignored. That's how I've come to regard our dinner at Bros, Lecce's only Michelin-starred restaurant, as a means of preserving what's left of my sanity. It wasn't dinner, it was just dinner theater. So I'm going to stop right there and ask you, what do you think went on at this restaurant? It is Michelin-starred. which means Michelin. The Michelin stars are very interesting because the whole point of Michelin stars is that they want you to go and drive to these places and use their tires. I think it was a more wholesome goal back when the tires and cars just started. You know, we want you to see what's out there. We want you to go and experience these things, sure, with our product.
Yeah.
But now it's like, here, drive 3.5 hours to the middle of nowhere. But it's worth it.
So Lich, is that in Canada, you said?
I think this one's in, it's either Italy or France. This is in Europe.
Oh, okay. So as near as I can tell, this is definitely a place that does deconstructed things.
Oh, what a food meme. Deconstruction.
Yeah. Where it's like, sure, we'll give you a burger, but we're going to give you this little, like, gently squared, like steamed dough.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't bake it, we steamed it, so it has like that weird texture. The patty is just like beef foie gras, and the ketchup is like ribbons, like they've managed to like caramelize it and shave it into ribbons that they've coiled over top of this. And
amazing.
There's just like a perfect dollop of mustard seed on top of all of this.
Okay. That's
but that would make sense because I would serve it on a plate.
Okay. It was just dinner theater. No, scratch that, because dinner was not involved. I mean, dinner played a role the same way Godot played a role in Beckett's eponymous play. The entire evening was about it, but guess what? It never showed. So no, we can't call it dinner theater. Instead, we'll just call it theater. Very, very expensive theater. I realize not everyone is willing or able to afford a ticket to Waiting for Godot, so this post exists to spare you our torment. We had plenty of beautiful meals in Lecce that were not this one, and if you want a lovely time out, I'll compile a list shortly. But for now, let us rehash whatever the hell this was. We headed to the restaurant with high hopes, 8 of us in total, led into a cement cell of a room, Drake pumping through the invisible speakers.
That's already a red flag. That is the biggest red flag. Under any other circumstances, I would think I was going to be murdered. Or that I was about to watch, like, a German dominatrix rip a man's tongue out with her teeth.
It's all part of the experience. It's all part of the experience. It was sweltering hot, and no other customers were present. The decor had the chicness of an underground bunker where one would expect to be interrogated for the disappearance of an ambassador's child.
You know what I keep picturing?
Go ahead.
I keep picturing that image of like that cement basement with the eldritch decrepit Mickey Mouse coming out from the doorway looking for like meth.
Your table's ready. Earlier that day, we'd seen a statue of a bear chiseled into marble centuries ago by someone who had never actually seen a bear. This is the result. It's not focusing. There you go.
Passable.
And this was the perfect allegory for our evening. It's as though someone had read about food in restaurants, but had never experienced either, and this was their attempt to recreate it. It's so hard to read this without laughing. What followed was a 20. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh no.
What followed was a 27-course meal. Note that course and meal and 27 are being used liberally here.
How? Because, like, are they just... Because course implies something. Like, it implies a
Does it,
thing.
Lauren?
Like,
does it really?
I would have assumed. But 27, like, even the most elaborate things are 27. A third of that.
27-course meal, which spanned 4.5 hours, and made me feel like I was a character in a Dickensian novel. Because I cannot impart this enough. There was nothing even close to an actual meal served. Some courses were slivers of edible paper. Some shots were glasses of vinegar. Everything tasted like fish, even the non-fish courses.
Oh no!
And nearly everything, including those noodles, which was by far the most substantial dish we had, was served cold. Here's a picture of the noodles.
Oh my
At least it's on a plate, right?
Yeah, like what looks like a couple tomatoes, like a couple of discarded tomatoes from that Ace Pillory.
Yeah. Amassing 24 of them together amounted to a meal the same way amassing 24 toddlers together amounts to one middle-aged adult.
Because that was going to be my next question. I'm like, how do you eat over the course of 4.5 hours across 27 distinct items? I won't call them courses, but like, if I have 27 crackers over the course of 4.5 hours,
that's not a meal.
Not on a good day.
No. I've checked TripAdvisor. Other people who've eaten at Bros were served food. Some of them got meat and ravioli and more than one slice of bread. Some of them were served things that needed to be eaten with forks and spoons. We got a tablespoon of crab, and there's a picture of the tablespoon of crab. It's yeah. That was the main course, apparently. I've tried to come up with hypotheses for what happened. Maybe the staff just ran out of food that night. Maybe they confused our tables with that of their ex-lovers. Maybe they were drunk. But we got 12 kinds of foam, something that I could only describe as an something that I could only describe as an oyster loaf that tasted like Newark Airport. And a teaspoon of savory ice cream that was olive flavored.
Oh.
I'm still not over that, to be honest. I thought it was going to be pistachio.
Oh. The rudest awakening.
Oh, imagine.
Like, this is the dining experience equivalent. Like, this is to restaurant critics what God gives his hardest battles to his silliest clowns is.
Mm-hmm. This is so hard to get through without just pissing myself. Okay. There is no menu at Bros. Just a blank newspaper with a QR code linking to a video featuring one of the chefs, presumably, against a black background, talking directly into the camera about things entirely unrelated to the food. He occasionally uses the proper noun of the restaurant as an adverb, the way a Smurf would. This means that you can't order anything besides the tasting menu, but also that you're at the mercy of the servers to explain to you what the hell is going on. The servers will not explain to you what the hell is going on. They will not do this in Italian. They will not do this in English. They will not play Pictionary with you on the blank newspapers as a means of communicating what you're eating. On the rare occasion they did offer an explanation for a dish, it did not help. These are made with rancid ricotta, the server said, a tiny fried cheese ball in front of each of us. I'm sorry, did you say rancid? You mean fermented? Aged? No, rancid. Okay, I said in Italian. I think something might be lost in translation, because it can't be rancido, he clarified. Oh, this is the best part. This is what made me think about it. Another course, a citrus foam, was served in a plaster cast of the chef's mouth.
Oh, my goodness.
Absent utensils, we were told to lick it out of the chef's mouth in a scene I'm pretty sure was stolen from an Eastern European horror film.
Yep, I've seen that picture.
Yep.
That's such... Even if you're a freak, even if, like, you get off on the thought of people licking out of a castor mold of your mouth, why would you make it look like you had died and foamed at the mouth?
For reasons that could fill an entire volume of Time Life Mysteries of the Unknown, this item is for sale at their gift shop, in case you want to have a restraining order filed against you this holiday season. Now, at this point, I may have started quietly freaking out. A hierarchical pecking order was being established, and when you're the one desperately slurping sustenance out of a plaster cast of someone else's mouth, it's safe to say you're at the bottom of the pyramid. We'd been beaten into some sort of weird psychological submission, like the Stanford prison experiment, but with less prison and more aspic. That's the only reason I have for why we didn't leave during any of the following incidents.
Yeah.
When a member of our party stood up during the lengthy stretch between courses to go have a cigarette outside and was scolded to sit down. When one member of our party was served nothing for 3 consecutive courses because they couldn't figure out how to accommodate her food allergies. When someone was served food he was allergic to repeatedly because they didn't care to accommodate his. When a server reprimanded me for eating. These reconstituted orange slices, 1 per person, were a course. I asked if I could eat the real orange that had been served alongside it. We'd all gotten one, and I, at this point, was extremely hungry. Yes, the server said, annoyed, but you aren't really supposed to. He let me have 2 segments and then whisked the fruit away. No, we just sat here while the food was portioned out a teaspoon at a time, a persistent and sustained sort of agony, like slowly peeling off a Band-Aid. That's the problem with the tasting menu. With so many courses, you just assume things are going to turn around. Every dish is a chance for redemption. Maybe this meal was like Nick Cage's career. You have to wait really long time for the good stuff, but there is good stuff. But no. We kept waiting for someone to bring us something, anything, that resembled dinner, until the exact moment when we realized it would never come. It was when our friend Lisa tried to order another bottle of wine. Would you like red or white? The server asked. Well, what are we having for the main? She inquired. His face blanched. The main, madam? We're about to move on to dessert. We sat for a moment, letting this truth settle over us.
Oh, no.
Because by now it had been hours, and at no point had we been served anything that could be considered dinner. There was one time I thought this might happen, when staff placed dishes in front of us, and then swirled sauces on our dish. I clapped my hands, excitedly waiting for something to be plated to top these beautiful sauces. Instead, someone came by with an eyedropper and squirted drops of jelly on our plates.
Oh, no.
We've infused these droplets with meat molecules, the server explained, and left. I don't know if our experience was the norm. I've looked at TripAdvisor's photo for bros, and other people who've gone there seem to have been fed actual food, like even this person, who was served the same weird meat droplet course, and at least got a triangle of foamy-looking bread. Do you know what it's like to envy someone for a foamy piece of bread?
Oh, no.
It's not great.
No.
I'm sorry. There's no main, Lisa said to us in disbelief after the server had retreated. Hey, I said, my hand resting on her arm. She was only slightly shaking from the low blood sugar. It's okay. They haven't fucking fed us, she said, her eyes wide. I know. But look, we're in this amazing country, and I don't know about you, but nothing is going to stop me from enjoying tonight. She nodded. Because I'm surrounded by my favorite people, I said, and I squeezed Lisa's hand for emphasis. And I'm at my favorite restaurant. Lisa sputtered, laughing. No more food was coming, and there was something freeing in that, because this meal had never been about us to begin with. It sure as hell wasn't about the food, and there is something glorious about finally giving up. We sat through a few more courses, including a marshmallow-flavored like cuttlefish, and a dish called frozen air, which literally melted before you could eat it, which felt like a goddamn metaphor for the night.
Yeah.
And then someone came in and demanded we stand and exit the restaurant. Thinking we were getting kicked out, we gleefully followed. Instead, we were led across the street to a dark doorway into the Bros laboratory. A video of the shirtless kitchen staff doing extreme sports played on a large screen TV, while a chef cut us comically tiny slivers of fake cheese. Rand, of course, was allergic to it. The bill arrived. The meal cost more than any other we'd eat during our trip by a magnitude of 3. They'd given us balloons with the restaurant's name across it, and the chef emerged and insisted on posing with us for a Polaroid that we did not ask for. We were finally released into the night after every other restaurant had closed, ensuring that no food would be consumed that evening. That was abhorrent, we all agreed as we shoved the balloons into a dumpster. I made everyone take one with the baffling logic that they'd somehow offset the cost of the meal. We howled at how ridiculous it was and how they'd poisoned Rand. How maybe we should have known that a restaurant named Bros was going to be a disaster. It was like an awful show that we had front row tickets to. But wasn't there something glorious about sharing it together the way a terrible experience makes you all closer? No, someone said, and we all laughed even harder. P.S. The next day, one of the staff tried contacting the only single female member of our party via Instagram messages. Hey, I served you last night, he wrote. She immediately blocked him.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. See, stuff like that, I do wonder if it's just like a prank. Because
I don't think so.
There's this very narrow threshold of like high-end stuff that like once you enter it, if you can fake your way into that threshold, you can do anything you want.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that gets me every time. It's like the reviews of the sugarless gummy bears. You just read something that's so well written like that.
It's so eloquent.
Oh.
And descriptive.
I use the word 27 liberally.
Because, like, edible paper. There's no way that's real.
No, you can do it.
Like, I know you can, but the thought of, like, we're gonna do it. Like, unless they're just that shrewd in the marketing department and they're like, the best way we can advertise our restaurant is to trick a bunch of these yuppie hipster restaurant critics into thinking this is real.
Yeah. Yep. It's funny as hell. Oh my god. But yeah. Okay. Pretentious artists.
Mm-hmm.
Chefs are artists. Artists be arting, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I brought this up before. They have this thing every night called Art on the Mart. The Merchandise Mart, downtown Chicago, is a very large building, and they have a massive set of projectors that project art on the side of it, sometimes synchronized to music. It's very cool. Most of the time, it's very cool. There was one stretch I do not understand. It was, and I know that this was just a weird one-off thing, because the thing that they had after showcase that they had after it for December was like this beautiful. They had several things. There was this beautiful Nutcracker thing, and there was one where the entire building had effects on it, like it was crumbling and being rebuilt. It was so cool. But this thing, it was green, right, and it had words on it. It was 6 questions, and it was in a loop for 30 minutes. I don't know who approved this, but it was the question, and then a green gradient, and then the next question. Over and over again. 6 questions. And you can tell that this was the artist trying to be deep. Here we go. Here are the questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
I can't believe I still remember these questions. Whose hope? Whose fears? Whose laughters? Whose tears? Whose values? Whose justice? Whose hope? Whose fears? Whose laughter? Whose tears? Whose values? Whose justice? Now I can imagine that someone thinks that they're making a statement. Look, I can appreciate modern art. I've seen lots of modern art. Some of it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
What in the hell is that? That's it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, no, that would make a really slamming Instagram graphic.
Yeah! Doesn't need to be projected to the side of it's a massive canvas. The biggest canvas in Chicago. Probably the biggest canvas in the Midwest.
Yeah. Or like in like those electric car kiosks. A cool thing for those.
Sure.
But even the questions themselves, there's not enough of a thread that doesn't build to anything.
Exactly.
Like, I think that concept could work, but there's no climax. It keeps doing this with its questions, which I guess helps it project for a half hour. But there's
It's like they didn't have anything for November, so they're just like, well, we'll just do this, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems progressive. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Because even some modern art that doesn't necessarily make sense, I still think is cool. Like, for all the memes about her breaking up the Beatles, some of Yoko Ono's art is really cool.
Sure.
Like, she had an exhibit that was called Half a Room, and it was just a white room, and all the furniture was cut in half.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and she did this, like, self-exhibit. I think it was called Cut. And she basically just let people come up and cut her hair or her clothes. I've seen a lot of like iterations of that in the future. But yeah, modern art can be neat. But those questions just don't hack it.
Yeah. I don't know. Pretentious as hell. Pretentious as hell.
Because that does make me wonder like where that line is. Because that's such a descriptor of art where we know it when we see it. But I wonder if it's open to interpretation, because I'm sure there's some art that like I would find pretentious and it just clicks for some people.
Probably.
Although the art piece that I'm really into right now is one where an artist was given $84,000 to produce some piece of art for a museum. And the art ended up being blank canvases. And he called the piece "Take the Money and Run." And I love that.
Oh, God. Oh, no. What is art? Oh, no. I would be more inclined to call that art than whose hope, whose fear, whose laughter, whose tear, whose value, whose justice. 100%.
Because it's those last two, that's what bugs me. Because hope and fear, sure, those are antonyms. Whose laughter, whose tears, sure, antonyms. Values and justice. Those aren't contrasting enough for that to be a satisfactory conclusion.
Yeah, it's kind of limp dick ending. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Art.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it does the point in that we talk about it, but is it supposed to imply that there is one answer for all of those questions? Can there be multiple answers to those questions?
I mean, I guess art is... maybe the intention of art is to provoke some kind of thought or some kind of emotion. In this case, the emotion is rage. But maybe it worked. Heck, maybe it worked. I do not want to give it that benefit.
It's the same reason that like the quickest way to a correct answer online isn't through a question but a wrong answer. I think the fastest way to like artistic prominence is not artistic cohesion and perfection, but being a near masterpiece. Where you just have one thing that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like the human part of your brain that's always looking for completion. But if there's something that's so open-ended and messy, that's what we focus on. Like, do you know who won Best Picture this year?
Drive My Car, right?
No.
What? What was it? What was it?
Do you want to know or do you want to guess again?
I don't remember all of them. You tell me.
Coda.
That's right. Coda. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but like, I think everyone's just like that. They're like, yeah, okay. Because they're very nice story. Complete no drama win. Moved on.
Yeah.
Something else happened that was so big, I didn't even learn until a week later that they brought in Megan Thee Stallion to do a verse on We Don't Talk About Bruno that was performed at the Oscars.
She did what now? Megan Thee Stallion?
Yeah, she did a verse on that song.
That's an interesting choice.
It was. It was not a good verse either.
No. I mean, I can't imagine after writing for years and being very successful with what she writes, trying to backpedal into something like Encanto.
Yeah.
That's very interesting choice.
because I don't know if she wrote her own verse. I don't know how features like that work.
I believe well, I don't. I'm pretty sure she writes her own stuff. In general.
Oh yeah, and she's very capable, very competent. I have enjoyed several of her bars.
Sure. I caught her. I caught her performing at Lollapalooza a little bit, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think she. There's a bar on Family Ties by Baby Keem. Show my ass and take y'all to class. I can multitask like Megan, brother. I think she was doing all this while she was attending nursing school.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, yeah, she's she's really cool. I don't know if like writing clean stuff is incredibly hard.
It is. Writing clean stuff that's good, impossible.
Oh my god.
It's so hard.
Because it's very hard to divorce yourself from the cringe of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because the flip side of that is it means that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the lyrics. And he is also pretty good at writing rap verses.
Yep.
So I don't know if it was just a thing where, like, the Academy called either one of them that morning and they're like, hey, write this. Mm-hmm. And so this is, like, first, maybe second draft stuff. But, man, it was weird.
I would say that Lin-Manuel Miranda is good at writing rap verses for his own style. I don't think that he could do something like Megan Thee Stallion.
No.
Right, like he does that very. I don't even know how to explain it, but you say how Lin-Manuel Miranda raps, and it's like, oh, that's how, right?
It's a very quick, lyrical, very driven by, like the rhyme scheme, I guess would be, like his feels very rhyme scheme driven.
Mm-hmm. It's almost Midwest Chopper style.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. Now I've connected that dot. Huh. Well, guess I have to listen to more Tech Nine. Compare and contrast between Tech Nine and Lin-Manuel Miranda.
The two wolves inside of us all.
Yes. He's not a very good actor, though, is he?
Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Yeah.
That
man should stay behind the camera.
Yeah, I've not. I've tried to be gentler in recent years because I completely understand his career path. Mm-hmm. In that if I were afforded any of those opportunities, I would absolutely jump on each of them.
Oh, sure.
Until people were sick of me. Like, I totally get that. But yeah, I think he's very good at creating and putting together things. But yeah,
Yep.
There's too much theater kid.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. God, when he had a cameo in Tick Tick Boom, I almost threw my remote at the television.
God, I wasn't the only one.
It's like, I at the time, I didn't know he directed it. And now that I know he directed it, I'm even angrier.
Because I'm like, I know why. Because I would do it too. But stop.
It's not as cringe when Quentin Tarantino does it, which is weird because he's also not that great of an actor. But
also true.
So I don't know why I feel that way.
It's the eagerness.
Maybe.
We are conditioned to hate people who are eager and excited about things.
That might be true, yeah. And he definitely is all that.
Yeah. It's part of the millennial backlash because millennials cared so deeply about everything all the time. Mm-hmm. And then Gen Z came through as the second coming of Gen X, and they're like, no. If you have any feelings at all, that's chuggy, and go die.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get that, yeah. Yeah, that's... I do like him, though. I do like Lin-Manuel Miranda's stuff.
Oh, he's immensely talented.
He doesn't have to be in goddamn everything.
Sure he does.
I liked Hamilton.
Everyone did.
He was okay. Daveed Diggs can have my children. But I don't know about the... God, Daveed Diggs is so goddamn good.
He is. Oh. He's really good.
Clipping clipping's amazing. His performance is incredible. His collab with the Muppets for, I think it was DoorDash, that commercial.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Those were really fun.
The man needs more work.
Yes.
I don't know what else he does.
Blind Spotting. I think that was the name of the movie.
Is that recent?
And then pretty recent, I think 2019, 2020. Okay. And then he was on the Snowpiercer show.
Oh, that's right, he was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Some good stuff. Love me some Daveed Diggs.
No, he's really good. And I think it's cool that he gets to do those kinds of opportunities, because I don't think it's fair if Lin-Manuel is the only one.
100%. 100%.
But Lin-Manuel's a success because of our sponsor tonight. That's an industry inside secret.
It very well could be. It makes sense to me. Sure, I'll agree with you. This episode of Steaming Pile is brought to you by the staggering concept of infinity. Lauren, infinity can be scary, right? And so the staggering concept infinity reached out to me and they said, hey, we just want you to do a little ad read so people aren't scared by our staggering concept. And I'll admit, it did scare me a little bit, but after talking to the staggering concept of infinity, I realized that it's actually pretty nice. We got to talking, and I agreed to take their money. Now, you might be thinking, is it an infinite amount of money? And the answer is no, obviously not. That's something it wanted to impress upon. Infinity is a staggering concept and not something actually representable, right? And quite truthfully, the staggering concept of infinity was staggeringly strapped for cash, so I was only given a 20, but I figured it would pay dividends later. So, guys, stop worrying about the staggering concept of infinity. You can't truly think about the staggering concept of infinity, so don't think about it. So thank you to the staggering concept of infinity for that $20.
Yeah, that's very generous of the staggering concept of infinity. I know that I too enjoy a staggering concept from time to time.
Yep.
Just love to embrace those staggering concepts.
Absolutely.
It's very generous of the staggering concept of infinity. And honestly, $20 today through inflation is like $22 tomorrow.
Could be. I don't know. I'm not an economist. I don't know. How does government work? How does the economy work? What does the Fed do? What's a fiat currency? I have no idea.
I don't know. I just know that we have to stagger them concepts now.
Indeed.
This has been another episode of Steaming Pile with Lauren and Tucker. I've been Lauren.
And I have been Tucker.
We will see you all next time.